Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's Day After Reckoning. I'm Nathan. That's the Stoner. And we were unable to get 4 in a row. A week after Stoner, a week after Washington, for the first time since 2005, overcame a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter. They let one get away. 10 points up, about 11 plus minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and they lose the game. Stoner, what's going through your mind right now?
I don't know. Did you feel confident? We got an echo. Are we good? Oh, there we go. Did you feel confident with that 10-point lead, or were you nervous?
I felt pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I did too. I actually felt really good about that lead until it wasn't a lead anymore. Yeah, there's so much we got to talk about here on Day After Reckoning, and so I'm looking forward to talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, all that stuff, but it is a very, very disappointing loss. You know, I did one thing today. I went back and I looked at all of the games so far this year, and I decided to say, okay, this was a could have won or should have won or could have lost, should have lost type deal, and you know what I came up with? 4-5.
Yeah.
They should be 4-5 because Jacksonville, they should have lost, but they won, right? But in Tennessee, I thought they should have won, but they lost. Indy, I thought they should have lost, but they won. And then this game, I thought they should have won, but they lost. They are what their record is, right?
I might disagree with you on a couple of those, but I don't think it matters. I think what matters is we're right still in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And we're getting healthy, right? Jahan Dotson should be coming back. Chase Young is going to come back. Carson Wentz is going to come back. And maybe you see some improvement. Maybe. I mean, it's stuff we'll be talking about probably more on a Wednesday show. Here on Day After Reckoning, we talk about the game the Washington Commanders played the day before. We do that live at 7:30 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Of course, you can catch us afterwards on your favorite audio platform as well. We appreciate all the support. Make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. We appreciate those who are in the chat live with us. We got Doug, we got Mike. Jason is there asking about whether or not the newly, freshly unemployed Frank should be the new offensive coordinator. EP in the house as well. I think that one's an interesting as Indianapolis goes through a coaching change, a very interesting coaching change after firing Frank Reich and now going with a center as their head coach. But we're not a Indianapolis Colts podcast. We're not going to break that down. I've not been happy with Scott Turner. I thought that this was going to be his year to kind of show us what he brings to the table. And instead, we've been getting these consistently bad games, and some of it you can blame on the players, and some of it you can definitely see comes from the play calling.
Mm-hmm.
Stoner, where would you put these offensive struggles, as far as Washington? Because it's now we've seen it through two different QBs. We've seen it through several different offensive line changes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that? Is it the fact that they still haven't been able to put together a solid line, or is Scott Turner really becoming a problem here in Washington?
Let me just answer that by saying yes. All of those things that you mentioned contribute to the issue. If you fire Scott Turner and bring somebody else in, you're not going to all of a sudden be a juggernaut on offense. If you bring in a new quarterback, like they have, as you said, this is their second quarterback already. You see it's the same struggles that they have. If you bring in new offensive linemen, you're still going to have the same struggles. If you get guys healthy, you're just going to have the same struggles. I don't know exactly what it is, but something's going on there offensively. I think Scott Turner is an A+ coordinator in terms of scheming an offense, designing an offense to get guys open and to make things happen. I think he is limited by his offensive line play, and he's limited by his quarterback's ability to get it to those guys. But I will say, I think he's a D- play caller. Okay, the some of the plays that he calls, it blows my mind. And I usually don't get too deep in stuff like that because who am I to say he doesn't know how to call an offense? I mean, I have no clue what it takes to call an offense. I just look at the results but you bring in the fullback, Armah, and we saw this yesterday. He brought in Armah for a play on a 2nd and 8. And Armah goes through that line and he pummels, and he did this against Green Bay. He pummels the safety to move him out of the way, and B-Rob ends up getting 6 yards. It's now 3rd and 2. And what do? They take Armah out, and they run some sort of sweep from the shotgun to Gibson, and they don't get it. And I'm going, as a casual observer of offensive play calling like myself, why don't you just run the same effing play that you just ran that was so successful? Are you afraid that they're going to say, oh, they might run the same play again? You just got to run the same play.
You run it until they prove that they can stop it, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the game plan that you saw a lot in the 80s and 90s. And that's kind of one of the things you were saying, Stoner, before, is the NFL is getting back to this, what we saw in the 80s and 90s. And I think that's absolutely right. You're starting to see a lot more fullback play coming around the league, and it's a copycat league. So as soon as one team's successful with it, other teams are going to be. And I think a lot of that comes from the game kind of it became really fast. And it also became to the point where people are really, you got these tall, thin, wide receivers doing the speed game. Well, you know what beats the speed game? The power game, right? Like you have when you're lining up 5 cornerbacks, you're going to have an Armah who's just going to be a truck out there who's going to make a big difference. So I think you're going to see this kind of go back and forth. I would like to see some more from that. I agree. I think Scott Turner has a lot within his play designs that are exciting, and you see how people are open, and we as fans get so frustrated when you can take a screen grab from any given game and be like, why wasn't he throwing it there? The guy is wide open, and sometimes we don't know the progressions, and we don't know the reads, but at least people are being schemed open.
Absolutely, they are. Even on that Logan Thomas pass, the interception, the backbreaker, the thing that just completely changed the game yesterday that Heinicke threw. Number one, Logan Thomas was open when he threw that pass, and it was bad footwork, it was bad mechanics, and he threw off his back foot, and it sailed high. But then you also see there were 2 other guys wide open as well. How is that Scott Turner's fault? That part of it is not Scott Turner's fault. I believe the in-game play calling, there doesn't seem to be any sort of rhythm with his play calling. Those are his faults. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm not sure if you have it right in front of you, so I'm kind of setting you up a little bit. But how many carries did Curtis Samuel have?
1.
How many yards did he have?
14, 16.
16?
Let me double check on that. 16 yards, yeah.
Why does he only have 1 carry? He has 1 for 16, and that's it? Why are you not giving him the ball more? Let me ask you another question. How many carries did Armani Rogers have?
1.
And how many yards did he have?
24.
Something to that effect. That's right.
Why
only one carry? Now, he's a tight end. I understand, but he is a quarterback. 1 year ago today, he was out playing
very athletic, yeah.
Right. And 2 weeks ago or last week, whenever it was, when he ran that the Wildcat with him in there as quarterback on a very successful play that he handed off to who? Curtis Samuel, right? Who ended up getting like 12 yards on that particular run. The scheme is there. Why are they not going back to that? Why are they not going to those plays? Why are they not rolling Taylor Heinicke out? The difference between Taylor Heinicke, or I rather should say, what keeps Taylor Heinicke in this league are his legs. Okay? It's not his arm. It's not his ability as a passer. It's his legs. Use his legs. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. He can get hurt by taking a snap from center, a la Robert Griffin III, who all he did was take a shotgun snap and blew out his knee. It can happen. You can't play conservative worrying about your guy getting hurt and not calling plays that make him a difference than what you have on your roster. And that's where I think Scott Turner is failing this team right now.
That is something we called for yesterday during the game. You know, we want to see some more rollouts. Taylor Heinicke had 2 or 3 passes batted down at the line in like the first quarter. And it was just like, roll him out. He's barely 6 foot. If he is 6 foot, get him moving so that way he can see a clean pocket, make it easier for him, and do some of those things. So again, I like some of the play designs. The play calls are a little strange. Which one would you put on Scott Turner as his worst call yesterday? There's a couple options I'm going to give you, but pick any one that you might think is bad. He did the QB draw on a 3rd and 9.
Yeah.
Or I know you're probably going to go for this next one, which was a pass play on 4th and inches.
Yes, 100%. I don't understand it. I'll never understand that. I'll never, ever, ever understand it. Just look at that touchdown that Heinicke had against Indianapolis at the end of the game on first down, whatever it was, at the goal line. A quarterback sneak, and he easily got in there. Just sneak the ball. Just have I think they did on one play, and Robinson came running up there like he was going to push Heinicke over, but he didn't need to because he had enough to get through. It's not rocket science when it comes to these 4th down plays. And on that play, he did roll them out on that 4th and 1, but that was a horrific call. They're trying to outsmart everybody. Don't outsmart people. Just do what has worked. How long has the NFL been around? How long has the forward pass been around? The modern era of football.
Of the 90 years, the Washington's been around.
So for 90 years, running the ball in a quarterback sneak, probably on a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. I don't have the numbers in front. I bet you it's 70% success rate. Stop outthinking it. It has worked for 90 years. Do that, and you'll be successful more often than not. And they just, and I don't know, they outthink themselves. They outsmart. They try to be cute. They try to be fancy. They try to stand out from all the other play callers in this league. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, one of the things that they did do right was they were successful moving the ball on the ground. Now, maybe not so much these two.
Yeah.
So we have Gibson and Robinson here combining for 80 yards on 24 carries. Not great, not bad. If that's one running back, you're probably pretty happy with that output. And, it's not the greatest, average. But where I found the disappointment really for me was involving them in the passing game. This is something I wanted to see more, is getting Gibson out there. This is something we talked about with JD McKissick missing the game, that this is the time for Gibson to be involved more in the passing game. They combined for 4 catches. That was 2 catches apiece. Gibson got 11 yards. Robinson was -6 yards.
Yeah. Because I think he had one of those plays was a big loss.
Yeah, big loss. So I just don't get this. Like you talked about, they ended up with 137 yards on the ground.
Pretty good.
Successful day.
Yeah.
A successful day on the ground. 16 of that came from Curtis Samuel, 24 from Amani Rogers, 1 run. Taylor Heinicke added 17 yards for himself as well. That's where you get to the 137. But the 2 running backs here, they're averaging 3.4, 3.3 in the game. What can we do to not just stick with the run and be moderately successful, but much more successful? Because these are 2, can be explosive backs. We've seen Robinson hit the hole stronger. He does seem hesitant.
There's something going on there. Nathan, there's something going on there.
Great.
There's something going on there, Nathan. I don't know what it is, but he's not, and it could simply be the injury that he suffered, but he has not looked the same that he did early in the preseason. And I don't know why. I don't understand it. He looks like Gibson used to look going through the hole. It's almost like they've reversed. I see Gibson hitting that hole hard now, whereas I see Robinson tapping his feet trying to look for a hole instead of just hitting it like he did in the preseason. So I don't know what's going on, but I do like the commitment to the run, as you see 24 carries between just those two, and you have the couple others there. But I want to see more. I want to see more. When it's 2nd and 8, you just had a 2-yard run, so you had nothing going there. But you had a 2nd and 8, and you're up 17-10 in the fourth quarter, and you call a pass play. And I don't know, again, if the play was supposed to go to Logan Thomas to begin with, but you're trying to run clock. You're trying to protect the lead. You got a little bit over aggressive. Just keep running the ball. Just keep running the ball. Keep running that clock. And it's just a mindset. It's a commitment to that run that right now, nowadays, that's what the better teams are doing. That's what, when Cincinnati is missing the top 5 wide receiver in Jamar Chase, what do? They just keep feeding Joe Mixon. They just keep feeding him and feeding him and feeding him. And next thing you know, he's got 4 rushing touchdowns and 5 total because they said, this is what we need to do. This has to be our identity today. And that's what they did. And that's what successful teams will do. And obviously, this team is not doing that right now.
Yeah. I'm going to disagree here with Commandalorian's comment a little bit. There's no hole because our O-line is trash. Do you not watch the games? There are no holes to run through. Now, the part I'm going to disagree with is that there's no holes to run through. We do watch the games, and there have been holes. Gibson's almost broken off a couple, but he trips up at the last moment. B-Rob has just made some poor decisions. When it comes to those, making the wrong cutback. There have been openings. Are there as many openings as we want? No. Have they been getting hit in the background because the offensive line hasn't been the best blocking? Yes. But there's still been some holes for them to hit. And there's something, Mike agrees with you, Stoner. Something's bothering Robinson. He's not attacking the holes like he was in the preseason. Yeah. And it just is something there different. I want to see some more production from those. And I agree. I think it was Doug who brought it up. It was Gus Bus who brought it up. Why is B-Rob even starting over Gibby? Gibby's been the impactful player we've had during this win streak. We've seen it a lot, and we've kind of seen it go back and forth where Gibson isn't even being involved in the offense until the second half. Yeah. And I feel like that is a mistake. And this kind of goes back on Scott Turner not doing the best when it comes to the in-game play calling. He schemes up these great ways to get Gibson into the open field or mixing up the backs and having some different plays for each of them. And then we don't even see our playmakers for half the time. Really, it feels like the only reason why we have Terry McLaurin involved as much as we have is because that's just who Taylor Heinicke, trusts and throws it to. Yeah. But, that's kind of put the lack of Curtis Samuel in there, who's another playmaker. And eventually Jahan Dotson's going to come back. Are we even going to see, if Taylor Heinicke's the QB, do we even see the Jahan Dotson that we saw with Carson Wentz? Or are we going to see a person out there just running routes like we have Cam Sims and the rest of them?
And De'Ami Brown and and guys like that. Man, I hope when Jahan Dotson does come back, and there was some positive progress on that side today. They had he put out an Instagram story today that he's out there running sprints and everything. So it looks like maybe he's going to be back on Monday night. I hope so. And but he had a connection with Carson Wentz, as you said. And right now, Taylor Heinicke is the quarterback. So how is that all going to work? But I do know this, it can't hurt. It can't hurt to have Jahan Dotson out there. That's just another weapon for Heinicke or Wentz or Howell or who's ever going to be the quarterback. But it just seems like, I don't know if it's a big deal that Robinson is starting instead of Gibson. I mean, if you look at their numbers, what were their rushing attempts
13 carries for B-Rob, 11 for Gibson. I'd have to look at the snap count to see if there was a significant snap count difference.
Yeah. I have the snap count if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead and bring it up here as we have our first donation of the night. Thank you, Johnny Man. Scott runs a Saturday afternoon offense.
F you, Johnny Man.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say to that.
It's Polly who put that in the chat earlier. F you, Stoner. That's a gag between the two. At least I appreciate you, Polly, not going after him so much to say that he runs a Friday night offense. But he does like to spread it out. He does, and this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. He does this thing where he just tries to outthink so much. I'll remove the branding there so we can see it more clearly. So this is the snap counts, and we were talking about Gibson and Robinson. It looks like Gibson does out snap Brian Robinson 37-28.
Yeah.
Good for 58% for Gibson and 44% of the snaps for Brian Robinson. So maybe it isn't the difference between starting as much as it's utilizing that person. And I hate that word utilizing as a broadcaster, but using Gibson in space and finding those ways to get him involved if he's out there. I like the suggestion earlier, get them both out on the field. When we run those sets where we have Samuel back there with one of our running backs or both running backs out there, I love it. I love that Armani Rogers Wildcat type play. It's
the
just
defensive coordinators are like this, man. They're like, which way is going? Who do I got a key on? I mean, right?
Yeah, they're shaking in their boots. And I think it was Sean who said, this team has too many weapons to be concerned with one, right? You can't double McLaurin because then somebody else is going to be open. And this is one of those things we've seen with the scheme. We've seen them be successful. It's not happening, and it's not all on the players. Now, there was one particular player that had himself a bad game, and that was the QB Taylor Heinicke. Just not a great game. 149 yards off of 28 pass attempts, the 2 touchdowns, one really flukish touchdown, and then a bad interception that you have, in the fourth quarter. You're trying to beat time. The pass was just too high. I understand he's trying to. Logan Thomas was open. I don't hate that decision. Logan Thomas was open. He's throwing it above the linebacker, but he just threw it above Logan Thomas, and you got a
horrific throw.
Yeah, just not a great throw. 30.1 QBR. He got the 17 yards off of 4 rushes as well.
It was a horrific game. I thought all around he was not good. If you take away that one play to Curtis Samuel, how long was that throw?
It was a 40-yard throw.
Yeah, so he had 109 yards.
Yeah.
For the rest of the game. And I saw something just before we came on. He had 2 throws all game. 2 throws over 20 yards. And one was the interception, and one was that fluke play. And that's it. The rest of the time, everything was just short passes, and he only completed 15 passes against the 28th ranked pass defense.
We actually had, and that's a little teaser for later, we had a dollar on him getting over like 250 yards. We're like, that was going to be the easy part. The 2 touchdowns was the part that I was waffling over. I was just like, I don't know about 2 touchdowns. The yardage should be easy because Minnesota's not a great pass defense, and Taylor Heinicke's capable of throwing for 250 yards. That should be a give me. The 2 touchdowns, I don't know. He gets the 2 touchdowns, and he doesn't even sniff 200 yards, let alone the 250.
Yeah, it was not, again, it was by far his worst performance of the 3 starts this year that he's had. So, yeah, that can't continue. But I will say this. We did have a little back and forth, you and I, about what happens next. Okay? We know this for sure. Carson Wentz is eligible to come off the injured list after the Philly game, before the Houston game, right? So one more game that he has to sit for his 4 games on IR. And you said, and help me if I'm putting words in your mouth. I'm not trying to.
I can just say it right now. You absolutely go to Wentz.
You go to Wentz no matter what.
No matter what, regardless of the Philly game.
I think that's insane.
How is that insane? Have you looked at? So I like Taylor,
but you're saying
not as much as the Hive.
But you're saying that regardless.
Yes. What has he done to win? Not the football games, but win the starting job. Yeah. This is Cooper Rush. Okay, you don't keep starting Cooper Rush because he was 4-1 while Dak Prescott was injured. And I'm not saying Carson Wentz is Dak Prescott, but I'm saying Taylor Heinicke is the backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. He did not win this job. Okay, Taylor Heinicke, he sustained the team while Carson Wentz was out. That is what I was saying. Taylor Heinicke has not done enough to win the starting job.
Okay, if you want to compare Cooper Rush, that situation, they're going back to Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is 10 times the quarterback Carson Wentz is right now. Okay, in this year so far when Wentz was out there just being a horrific quarterback himself, right? So you're going back to Dak Prescott. We're going back to Carson Wentz. Now listen, I'm a Wentz guy. Wentz is better than Taylor Heinicke. I believe that to my core, that he is a better overall quarterback. But if he goes out there on Monday Night Football in front of the entire world and beats an 8-0 Eagles team, okay, to get Washington back to 500, and he goes out and throws for 310 and 3 touchdowns and no picks, and they win 28-20, you can't go back to Wentz. You absolutely cannot go back to Wentz after that. That's insane to say, regardless of what happens on Monday night.
For 310 yards, 350 yards, he's still barely making 200 yards average this season.
Okay, but it's game to game at this point.
It's a fluke. It's a fluke. I'm Scotty here with the donation and agreeing with me.
That's why you like it.
Scotty, enjoying the stream, guys. I say you play Wentz when he returns. We have to see this thing through. Taylor Heinicke's the backup. Wentz is the starter. Wentz comes back. You're starting Wentz. Taylor Heinicke, to take the starting position, you actually have to play better. It's not just about the fact that I get that Carson Wentz was 2-4 and Taylor Heinicke would be 3-1. That's great. Taylor Heinicke did enough to keep us in the playoff hunt. Appreciate it. He has not done enough to show us that this offense is better with him, or that he is the better quarterback. He has not done that. And that's what I'm trying to say. And normally we keep these conversations for Wednesday because we try to talk about the game before. And this is a game where literally, let me bring it back up again here to remind you, you're trying to defend this QB after this game.
No.
You are.
You're putting words in my mouth. I am not doing that at all.
Fictional talk, Stoner, about 3 touchdowns and 300 yards in Philly. Okay,
you're saying regardless.
I am saying regardless because you have 3 games of evidence where Taylor Heinicke has not been the QB that you're going to put out there and beat Philly with 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has shown us that he is not that QB. He has not only not shown it this season, he didn't show it last season. Mm-hmm. He didn't show it to the tune that they went out and traded 2 picks and are paying a guy $28 million to start football games this year. I'm not a Carson Wentz guy either. I don't want to see us lose a 2nd round pick, which, by the way, I know a lot of you are saying, we can't start him because the 2nd round pick. Here's the thing. If you're out of the playoff hunt, you can still shelve him. Okay. You still don't have to lose that 2nd round pick.
And you're losing a 3rd round pick anyway, even if he doesn't meet that criteria. So it's either a 3rd or a 2nd. So it's not like it's either nothing or a 2nd. You're still going to lose something. But let me go back. I agree with 99% of what you said. But here's the difference. Here, the locker room loves Taylor Heinicke.
The
You
fans
cannot walk into that locker room and say, we're going back to Carson Wentz if he has a big performance. If he has a typical Taylor Heinicke performance, understood. You go back to Carson Wentz, and I'm all for it. But you can't do it if he does that on a Monday night in front of the whole world.
Here's what happens, Stoner, okay? He throws for 350. He's get those 3 touchdowns. This is what's going to happen. Carson Wentz is not going to be activated off of IR that night. That's what might happen.
That's
okay.
Right.
Maybe that's what they do. They let it play out one more week, and then we see Taylor Heinicke, throw for 175 yards, and we're like, you're right. Let's go ahead and get Carson Wentz back. So maybe they don't go to him right away, but you're absolutely going back to Carson Wentz when you can this season. Want to give a shout out to our friends over at the Command This podcast with the $4.99 donation here. What up, everybody? 3rd and 9 QB draw was poopy. And the good playing call, the good play calling is good, but the bad is really bad. Ron's comments about Taylor said a lot. FedEx was lit. It was, I mean, you could hear the crowd. There was a lot of excitement there. It was the blackout game.
You know what they were chanting? I'm just asking. What do you think they were chanting?
Chanting Heinicke. And
I'm just saying.
The team used Heinicke for ticket sales, and Gunny appreciate Polly with a $5 donation. Thank you,
Polly.
What did Wentz do to keep the job? It was his job and his way to the bench. Listen, I get that Carson Wentz is not the answer. Okay.
Yeah.
I get that that's not, and you're going to go ahead and say this. We know how the Wentz story ends. I'm sorry. We know how the Taylor Heinicke story ends.
Yes, that's correct as well.
It's not the answer. It's also not the time to put in how. All right. That time might come later this season, depending on how the season unfolds. But right now, it's Taylor Heinicke's team until Carson Wentz comes back. And then it's Carson Wentz's team until he's either injured or we're trying to protect that pick because we're no longer in the playoff race. And at which point you probably don't even go with Taylor Heinicke. You probably go with Sam Howell.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Look, we all know that there is nobody on this roster right now, including Jake Fromm, who I do believe is still on this roster until Carson comes back. There's nobody on this roster who we're all looking to be the savior. And guess what? Josh Allen's not walking through that door either. Okay, none of these guys are the answer, and we don't even know if we're going to have the answer next year, whether it's through draft, trade, or free agency. But game to game, coming up against Philadelphia, Taylor Heinicke gives you the best chance. And then after that game, you're going to evaluate who's going to give you the best chance that next game. I don't think there is a whole thing laid out to where this particular guy, i.e. Carson Wentz, is going to come back as soon as he is healthy enough to come back. I don't believe that. And I know you totally believe that, but I don't believe that. As long as Taylor Heinicke is playing well and is leading this team to wins, they're going to stick with him. And if he has that big game on Monday night, and he has a huge game, and he goes out and he plays well, and we're going to give the whole his Carson Wentz's fingers not quite healed yet, so let's give it one more game. And then Heinicke goes out and plays really well against Houston, right? Is the next game after that. He's going to be the quarterback the next week against Atlanta. And then against Atlanta.
Now you're changing the tune here. Now you're saying that he plays well in Philadelphia. He plays well in Houston. He plays well in Atlanta.
Because it's week to week.
But now you've put together 3 strong games. Now he actually can take the job away from Carson Wentz because he's proven that. Okay. But if he keeps putting up, I mean, and again, you're looking at these games from, if you're looking at them from week to week, all right, Taylor Heinicke's games, he's 149 yards, 279 yards, 201 yards. His completion percentage against Indianapolis was his best at 74.2. This last week here against Minnesota, 53.6. His average is not been great. 5.3, 9.0, 6.1, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And so what I'm trying to say is he hasn't done enough just yet
Right.
to take over a 6.8 average is what we got for his current overall. He's not done enough, but you're right. If he does well in Philly, if he does well in Houston, because the team's being cautious with Wentz, and he does well against Atlanta, and we see these numbers rise, then absolutely, sure,
Well, that's
then we
all
can
I'm
have that
saying.
conversation. But you're trying to tell me that he just plays well in Philadelphia, they got to stick with him. I don't think that's the case.
Yes, they will
have to.
And like you said, if that happens, they will just say that Carson is not yet ready. Okay, that he still needs another week to get healthy. And then if he plays well again, then you continue to stick with him. But Philadelphia is not that after the Philadelphia game is not a guarantee that they're going back to Wentz, regardless of how he plays. I'm not saying somebody put it up here, Dominic here. I'm not saying he's going to play well against Philadelphia. I don't think he has it in him. I'm not a Heinicke hiver. I don't believe in him as a quarterback. I'm just saying if he does, if somehow he comes out on national TV against an undefeated Eagles team that everybody loves, if he does that and he wins and has a big game, he's going to be the quarterback the following week. It's going to be week to week to week to week. And he could have a horrific game against Philadelphia, and Wentz still might not be ready, right? Injury-wise, that could happen as well. Possible. I'll put $1 on it right now. No, I don't want to do that because I'm going to lose that $1.
Yeah, let's lead off with $1. Bosky with the donation here. Appreciate that for the $1.99. We have this convo every year. Who's the QB? Sad. Yeah, and then we're going to keep having it until we can find that QB. Doesn't seem like that person's on the roster right now. Certainly wasn't Taylor Heinicke here against the Vikings. It was rough. Commandalorian, his season standing QBR is 42.9. By the way, Taylor Heinicke's QBR is 42.9. And Sean, I can clearly see you're not a Carson Wentz guy. Yeah, Wentz last 4 games, 10, 8, 17, 12 points. He's awful. And yeah, you're right. But he's also the only one who's actually put points on the board because we haven't seen that from Taylor Heinicke. Neither
Heinicke 17, 23, and what?
And 17.
17, 23, and 17. It's better than Wentz's last 3 games.
Sure, but
I'm not defending Heinicke. I'm just putting facts out there.
Carson Wentz has put up more points. Granted, those are the first couple of weeks, and we haven't seen that offense since.
On average, I don't think he has. On average, I don't think that. I think the team was below 17, and with Heinicke, they're at 57 through 3 games, which is what, 19 a game. So,
oh man, now
I'll do it in my head. I'm a math whiz.
You're a math whiz. Okay, yeah. Here's the public math. Carson Wentz scored 28.
All right,
27.
Oh, really? They had 28, 27 in the first 2 games. All right, that's 55.
8.
All right, 63.
10.
73.
17.
That's 90.
And 12.
102. How many games?
Over 6 games.
6 games. 102 is 6-1 is 42. 16 points a game. Oh, 17. Sorry, exactly 17. Heinicke's at 19. So
Heinicke's at 19 with 23, 17, and 17.
Yeah, it's 57. Divided by 3 is 19, right? So he's getting 19. Look, we're talking about poopy and poopier. Okay, we're not talking about a huge difference here. They're both bad at quarterback, but I'm just saying that Heinicke has not been worse than Wentz in terms of average points per game because he had a really bad stretch there. Those first 2 games were great. We thought, okay, we've got our quarterback, and then it just went all downhill from there. But I think we're both in agreement, and there might be 1 or 2 folks in here. We're both in agreement that Sam Howell is not the answer.
Yeah, there's a few, I think, like Metaphor and maybe P4. There's a couple in there from our usuals that are definitely on the Sam Howell train. It's not that time. The team right now is 4-5. They're right in the thick of it. Okay.
Absolutely, they are.
This is not, the season has not gotten away from us. We felt that it did and this is what they do to us every year. We know this is no different. Right when they had that winning streak last year and they got themselves into the mix, only to fall up short. But they're 4-5 right now. Okay, they're currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams ahead of them in the standings.
And how many playoff spots are there?
And there's 7 playoff spots.
Right, so they're right there,
right in the thick of it.
They're right in the thick, into the thick of it.
Into the thick of it. Yes.
So
San Francisco, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons, all with 4 victories right there with
Who are they again?
San Francisco, Tampa Bay, and the Atlanta Falcons.
And you play 2 of them later on in the season. You play San Fran and you play Atlanta. So you have your destiny pretty much in your own hands. Look, they're going to be 6-6 when they do the Giants back-to-back. Okay, I believe they'll be 6-6. They're going to win 2 of their next 3. Okay, so that puts them at 6-6. And I'm telling you right now, you can cut this up like I like to say. If you want to cut this up, the Giants are frauds. Okay, the Giants are the Tennessee Titans of the NFC. They've got a great running back and they have a horrific quarterback who's going to come back down to earth. You stop Saquon Barkley and you're going to stop the New York Giants. So that's coming up and we'll talk more about that, but you can at least at worst split with them and you're at 7-7 with 3 games left and you're going to be right in the middle of it. You're not going to be sitting here talking about Sam Howell should be getting some reps to see if he's the guy. Not yet. If you're 5-9, that's a totally different story. We can start talking about Sam Howell then.
Sure. Now, one of the reasons that we're talking about the QB again is because they went out, they got Carson Wentz. He hasn't worked in the 5-6 weeks that he's been with the team.
Yeah.
But this is why they went out and got somebody like Carson Wentz. This front office really felt like the defense was ready. You know, they thought that this team, you just have to put in a QB and this team is good. You have good offensive skill positions. Your offensive line was ranked well last year. Your defense has guys like this man, Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen here, just absolutely wreaking havoc. Daron Payne with the sack, 2 QB hits, 4 tackles for a loss, just finding himself a big payday coming up for him. Jonathan Allen deserves to be an all-pro.
He will be.
First team all-pro.
He will be.
And this defense continues to do what it needs to do. Now, there was a couple bad plays there that put them in bad positions. But when your defense only allows 20 points, you should be winning games. You absolutely need to be winning games in that regard. And that just hasn't been translating. What do you say about Daron Payne's play and then work on the defense from there? What do you think about that against the Vikings yesterday?
Well, I need one of those machines because my arm is getting tired from patting myself on the back so much. But I have been talking about this defense even after those first couple of games and saying that they were playing really well. They were just having 1 or 2 just kind of like against Detroit, where they would have these weird plays that would happen to them. But the rest of the game, they were very good. I've seen it from the beginning of how good this defense has been throughout the year. And it only got better once Cam Curl got healthy. And Cam Curl has made a huge difference. Now, I think the last couple of games or 2 out of the last 3 games, he's got beaten on those wheel routes for touchdowns. Right when Aaron Jones got him for 1, and then in this game, Dalvin Cook got him for 1. But he's right there. He's all over it, and they've had to make perfect plays. This defense has been outstanding. You've had injuries. You haven't had Chase Young. You lost your backup defensive tackle and Fedarian Mathis, who you drafted in the 2nd round. Cole Holcomb has missed the last 2 games. David Mayo missed this last game. Like I said, you didn't have Cam Curl for the first 2 games, and they have been fantastic. And I think you called it a playoff level defense, and they absolutely have been that. And Daron Payne is playing like he wants a big contract, and he's going to get one. I don't know if it's going to be from here. I hope it is in Washington. And John Allen already got that contract. And let's be honest, Jonathan Allen is underpaid. And he's got a monster contract. He is underpaid because he is dominating these offensive linemen in front of him. And
go ahead and say it, Stoner. You love the word. He's pummeling them, right? You love the pummeling word.
Yeah. I mean, Kirk Cousins is going to feel the hits that Allen and Payne put on him for weeks because they were crushing Kirk Cousins. And when you pressure him, he makes, bad plays. They just didn't quite get enough of those, especially in the fourth quarter. But yeah, they've been awesome. I would be concerned about looking at their the number of plays that they're playing.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at 94% of the plays, Payne, both of them played 94% of the plays, 62 snaps apiece. That's a little much. That might come back to get them later on in the year, or, it might lead to some sort of injuries or whatever. But you don't want to take them out. You never want to see them out of the game because they are playing so well. And Payne was a beast yesterday. I mean, even Sweat is playing really well.
That's the thing is Montez Sweat, he's not showing up a lot in the scoreboard. He only finished with one tackle yesterday.
Really?
Yep, no tackles for loss, no sacks. His tackle wasn't even a solo. He did get one pass defense, and he had 3 QB hits. I'm fairly certain, PFF has him ranked within the top 10 as a defensive end
for the year.
Pressures for the year, okay. And pressures. He is just getting pressures this year at a high rate, and so he's not showing up in the box score, but he absolutely has been productive for this team. That makes me think that if we get a healthy Chase Young back, I realize he's still probably not going to be 100%, but we will have at least somebody not named, William Bradley King or, Casey Toohill on the other side that, you're going to be able to, force it away from Sweat. I think we're going to start seeing Sweat in the box score, but he's already doing what he needs to do. He's probably going to get a Preston Smith kind of paycheck. Again, maybe not here, but this defense is to me solid. I know there's still some questions about the cornerbacks, but St. Juste, I think is a very solid NFL level cornerback.
I think more than solid.
Got to lock him up.
I think he's more than he held his own against what you called before the game. You called the best receiver in the game. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, we can quibble about his stats or whatever, but he's absolutely a top 3 receiver at worst. He locked him up pretty much. I mean, he got 115 yards and a touchdown, but I mean, it's Justin Jefferson, and I thought he played really well.
That's on 13 targets, by the way, 7 receptions. So it means nearly half the time Justin Jefferson was targeted, it did not get completed. And not only that, one of those, St. Juste got in the way, bumps it up. Danny Johnson gets his first NFL interception off of that. So yeah, St. Juste I feel solid. I think Kendall Fuller is going to be phased out.
He gone.
And you're going to probably take either a first round. If you don't take a first round QB, you're going to take a first round cornerback.
Yeah.
And you're going to look to fill that hole. But I think Fuller is still an acceptable NFL level cornerback. Wild Goose is not great, but I feel like there were some concerns, going into this game, Stoner. How did you feel Wild Goose kind of played?
Well, he didn't. That's the thing. He absolutely didn't play. I'll look at his numbers, but I don't believe he played one defensive snap. Danny Johnson took all his snaps.
Johnson took it over.
We talked all about how we thought it was a bad matchup between Wild Goose and probably Jefferson the whole day, right? And that's the kind of thing that we talk about, looking into these games ahead of time, and then JDR, Jack Del Rio, schemes it up so that his best corner, St. Juste, is on Jefferson most of the day, and Wild Goose doesn't even play. And it's all about Danny Johnson. That's the kind of thing that I try to convey that we as fans, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what's going on at practice. And they were so not upset, what's the right word? They just were so dissatisfied with Wild Goose's play the week before, and we all thought he was going to be starting, and he didn't even play and they brought in a guy off the practice squad who took all the numbers. Let's see. I'm looking for Danny Johnson played 76% of the snaps.
Wow.
Right.
And now, Danny Johnson has familiarity with this defense. And Doug here asks, why does it take half the season to get this defense playing at this level? Here's the thing. It's not taking half, right? After the first 2 games, they only give up 24 points to the Eagles, but that was an offense that's just been killing people. Just absolutely killing people. 25 points to Cooper Rush. That wasn't great. 21 points to the Titans, 7 points to the Bears. So the Bears these last few weeks have looked much better.
Yep.
21 points to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And granted, they haven't looked good. They just lost to Detroit, but that's still Aaron Rodgers. 16 points to the Colts and 20 points to, again, a good offense with the Vikings. Yeah. And so I don't think it's taken half the season.
That's how many defensive snaps Wild Goose had. He had 0. So JDR schemed it up. And here we are talking all about like Metaphor had the pick 6 prediction, didn't even play. And we had no idea. We had no idea going into that game. The stuff that goes on during the week behind the scenes that we have no idea about that comes out during game day. It's mind-boggling. It's like the Sam Howell thing, kind of going back to the quarterback deal. We have no idea what he's doing in practice and in the meeting rooms. So we can't be sitting here saying, well, let's just give him a shot. He's not ready. If he was ready, we'd hear about it. He's not ready. But anyway.
Allison in here, the enemy, Philadelphia Eagle fan, we appreciate her jumping in here. What about Fuller at free safety? Do you like McCain? McCain's been playing well, I think, at free safety. Not great. He's certainly not, part of our tandem of safeties that's in the top 5 of PFF. But he made a couple of good plays yesterday. There was that screen play that he defended to perfection. And largely you just want to be calling his name is the thing, right? You don't want to hear from him. And I feel like in that regard, he's done pretty well. I don't know about moving him over. Bobby McCain, by the way, 8 tackles, 6 solo, 1 tackle.
Wow. He had 6 solo tackles.
Yeah.
I remember it was just a couple games ago. I believe he had 0 tackles the entire game. I mean, you don't want your free safety, making too many tackles, but if they're up there by the line of scrimmage, then absolutely. But I think in the same way that we all as fans and as number crunchers that Allison is, asking about moving Fuller to free safety. Well, they talked about it during the offseason. Kendall Fuller does not want to move to free safety. It's the same thing with Landon Collins last year, not wanting to move to Buffalo nickel / linebacker. Now, eventually he did, and it helped his game a little bit. But if they don't want to do it, and if they don't have buy-in, it's very difficult to move them to these positions. And maybe they do it in the offseason. Maybe he's going to see kind of the writing on the wall that his career is going to come to an end as a corner, and he needs to if he wants to keep playing, and maybe he will. But that was the thing in the offseason, and he made it very clear. I do not want to play. I'm a cornerback. I do not want to play safety. So we'll just have to see how that kind of plays out.
Which I think ever since William Jackson III has been benched, you've been seeing better play from Fuller. So that's just another one of those things. It's just kind of weird how that works out. Yeah, I'm not saying it was William Jackson III's thing,
maybe
but I mean,
you
have guys like Jamin Davis who had a wonderful game as well yesterday. 5 tackles, 4 of those were solo. He had a tackle for a loss, a pass defended. He is flying around the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely acquitting himself from the criticism after the first couple of games. This is, as C Truth says, Commanders defense is stout. The front is ferocious. We're missing Cole Holcomb. We're missing David Mayo, but you had Bostic out there who was still a step late. I mean, the guy's like 50, but there was a couple times where Bostic was making plays himself. So I think that this defense is playing well enough for this team to win games. They certainly played well enough yesterday. They were put in a bad position with that, that interception by Heinicke. But otherwise, I mean, there was the question up there earlier with the St. Juice thing. Was that a pick six or was that pass interference? It was obviously called defensive pass interference.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we tried to explain it away. That was pass interference. I mean, or holding, whatever you want to call it. He definitely impeded Jefferson from coming back to the ball. He stopped him by grabbing onto him. It was an obvious call. Some people were adamant that it wasn't, but I mean, even during the game we called it, but we were like, let's just play football, let him play. But that's a homer take on that situation. We just wanted it to be a pick six. That would have been ball game, but it was definitely.
I think that it could have gone either way right up until he did like the shoulder pad grab.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I feel like, that could have been just let them play football.
Yeah.
But then he did that one and it very clearly, made him. So it was in Doug here on the other side. Jefferson grabbed him to get back into position.
That doesn't make it okay that St. Juice grabbed him though.
Yeah. P4, that was a BS call.
Yeah. I hear you.
I want to see it go our way, but I'm not surprised it went against Washington on that one.
But defensively, you had the first drive where they just went right down the field, which is what Minnesota does. They do that on their first couple of drives. They like to move down the field. So you had that, and the rest of the game, you basically held them to 2 field goals until that last touchdown, which you gave them that short field. I don't know, 20, 22-yard line, something like that. No, it was less than that. It's like the 12-yard line, I think. Yeah, so, I mean, defensively, you held Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, TJ Hawkinson. You basically held them. I mean, you held them to 20 points, but 7 of them were free. So you did a great job defensively. And it's really good to see, especially with all the heat that JDR was getting after the first couple of games.
Doug's still on that pick six there. That's why it should be a no call though. I think, and then P4 with that's not getting called with Trayvon Diggs. They would have let him get that pick six. I honestly think maybe if it wasn't a pick six, that maybe they don't throw it. But I mean, if you look at it,
he threw it right away.
The flags were flying right away.
Yeah. We were even calling it on the live stream. We were even, as soon as he picked it, we were saying, "Oh, there's a flag. That's not even going to count."
By the way, real quick before we move on to like go-goes and no-goes, I want to point out here, your theory came true. You remember this conspiracy theory? I don't have the conspiracy theory loaded up on there.
I have some good ones, so I'm not sure which one you're speaking of.
You mentioned just a moment ago, Minnesota first drive of the game just moved right down the field and scored a touchdown. You said that when teams do that, they just kind of stall out for the rest of the game, and that's kind of what happened in Minnesota. They made one good drive and then nothing for pretty much the rest of the game. Lots of we got Commandalorian coming back to the offensive side of the house here real quick on the 3-and-outs. How many 3-and-outs do you think Washington had yesterday? I'll tell you how many tries they had. So they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
12, didn't they?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 drives. How many of them were 3-and-outs?
I don't know if there was that many. I'm just going to say 3.
Okay, not including the end of half, which was just the kneel.
Okay.
Right, and not including the end of game, which was one play.
Oh, okay. So right. Was only 10?
10. So not including those two. How many of those were 3-and-outs?
I'll still say 3.
1.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And that was the 3-and-out in between the touchdown from Minnesota and then their field goal to win the game.
And by the way, go back to the tape again of the live stream. I told Trev before that drive, I said, Trev, this is the drive of the season. If Washington scores, they're going to the playoffs. If they don't score, they won't make the playoffs on that one drive. And they went 3-and-out and ended up losing the game. But I just, that was a critical drive. And that's the only time they went 3-and-out. That's terrible. That sucks.
Yep. Yeah. Just bad timing, just like that interception, just kind of turning the game. It was before that. It was before the interception. It was the pick six being overturned, right?
Yep.
So it was kind of like the momentum started going Minnesota's way, and it's this game slipped away from us.
That pass to Jefferson, that long pass when Cousins absolutely got pummeled. I think that one was Payne, and he had to come out for a play, but that was in that same drive that he threw that long, beautiful, perfect pass. And man, they were that close to again causing a turnover, but Cousins stood in there and threw it. We didn't show this earlier. This was a super chat. I think we missed this one earlier.
Thank you, Bosky, on the $1.99 donation. You're right. We did miss that one. We apologize. Explain Scott's extension based off of what? And I think this goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, Stoner. I think it's based off the fact that his schemes do their job. Okay. The scheming gets people open, and you can see that on the tape. And then you get to blame the bad QB play and be like, well, if they just, did the play that I drew up, you'd see that these yards would be there. So you give that extension in hopes that a better QB gets those the ball to where it needs to be.
And I researched that extension a little while back. Is a non-guaranteed extension. So if they let him go, fire him, whatever you want to call it, then it won't cost them anything. Not that it matters, because it's not a cap sort of deal. But they did it to line up everybody's contracts. To Ron's contract, Scott's contract, JDR's contract, to go to that extra year. And that's really all it was. Give him a little vote of confidence. You're our guy. All that stuff you said also about they knew that his schemes are good. They just needed a quarterback to execute them.
Now
what's it going after me for?
Because it's all your fault, Stoner. You haven't been looking at the chat. It's all your fault here.
Well, I mean, I didn't do the 3-and-out.
You did not do the 3-and-out, but you did do some different things. Ron's money, I think, is guaranteed, but Scott's is not.
Scott's is not.
Scott, I think, could be gone this season if they don't turn it around, and for the rest of the season average at least like 20 points per game. You can't keep averaging 17 points, 19 points a game. Speaking of that, whose fault it was. We're up to 837 votes right here on our community page. We appreciate everyone jumping in on that one. After blowing a 17-7 lead, who gets the blame for the fourth quarter collapse against the Vikings? It is only 15% going with the rookie John Ridgeway, which I agree.
We haven't even talked about that yet.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it. We'll talk about it here. Actually, let's talk about it. No, let's finish the poll, and then we'll talk about John Ridgeway real quick. 17% is going to go to Ron Rivera. Head coach, probably should get some of the blame. And there was definitely some poor time management. We've been seeing this over and over and over again.
I do want to talk about that because I'm not sure I understand it, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you should have timeouts available to you. There's some bad challenges. Scott Turner, we've talked about relentlessly just not getting some of these play calls for 24%, but it's 44% for the Hive's Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke being blamed quite a bit here in that. And K-Roo 25 says, only if Heinicke had an arm, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah. But on the what you call it, on the last drive for Minnesota, when they were trying to stop the clock and all that, and And I saw a lot of complaints about not using the timeout before the 2-minute warning. And I'm not sure I understood that because they only had the one timeout because they had to take one because they didn't get a play in on time or something like that. And then they had the challenge that was unsuccessful, so they lost that timeout. I get that part, which, by the way, I was okay with the challenge on this one. A lot of the challenges I'm not okay with, but this one I was okay with. But I don't understand how the clock would have been any different if you had used the timeout before the 2-minute warning as opposed to after the 2-minute warning, which is what they did.
So you use it before the 2-minute warning because it effectively makes that 2-minute warning your called timeout rather than their called timeout. So they got to run the clock to the 2-minute warning themselves rather than forcing the double play. So that's
okay, but that would have happened anyway.
No, but it saves you. It saves you seconds. And that's why you call. If you need to call timeouts, you're supposed to call them before the 2-minute warning because it will save you time in the back end.
Okay, but hear me out. Let's just kind of work this out if we can, because it's kind of bothered me a little bit today. So let's just say there's 3 minutes left, which is about how much time was left. They ran a play and then let the clock go all the way down to the 2-minute warning. Okay. Then they ran their third down play and they would have called a timeout, but Minnesota threw a pass that was incomplete. So they didn't have to use a timeout. Okay. But if they had used the timeout before the 2-minute warning, that would have been third down. They would have ran a play and run it all the way down to the 2-minute warning, or it would have been fourth down. You would have saved yourself 4 seconds, maybe. But I saw some people saying that they wasted over a minute, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. Maybe
here's the play calling here that's in question. It's a 1st and 6 at the Washington 6, 2:35 left to go in the fourth. Cousins pass incomplete short middle. Okay. Only took 4 seconds. 2:31, fourth quarter, 2nd and goal, Washington 6. Dalvin Cook left end to Washington 4 for 2 yards. That's the 2-minute warning. Okay. That took 31 seconds off the clock.
Okay.
You take the timeout there.
All right.
Then their third and fourth play, Cousin pass incomplete short right, happens before the 2-minute warning. They then kick the field goal. That gives you a full 2 minutes to drive. Now you don't have timeouts because you spent the timeout there. But instead what happened was the 3rd and 4 go, you let them take the 31 seconds off the clock to the 2-minute warning. Cousins incomplete pass, so you're back at the 2 minutes. You get 8 down to 8. You get 8 seconds off with a field goal attempt. Now, this is where the John Ridgeway thing comes into play because it gives them a whole fresh set of downs, and this is where Washington is forced to take the timeout with 1:48 left.
Right.
But at that point, the Minnesota is in control now, because they have the fresh set of downs. If you don't give them that fresh set of downs, you take the timeout before the 2-minute warning. The 2-minute warning stops the clock again, or actually in this regards, if we let them get the field goal without the penalty, right? 2:31.
Yeah.
Cook gets tackled for 2 yards. You take a timeout. You probably will save 5-6 seconds. How much time do you want to take off for that run?
6 seconds.
We'll take 6 seconds off. So that's 2:25 now. The time has stopped. Kirk Cousins passes incomplete.
Okay, here's where I have a problem.
Now they might actually run the ball because now they just get it to the 2-minute warning.
That's
but now
what I'm saying.
2-minute warning, they kick the field goal. You have nearly a full 2 minutes for your offense to drive down the field to get a field goal to tie it or a touchdown. That's why the poor time management.
Okay, hold on.
This constantly from Ron Rivera at the ends of halves. He just isn't doing what he needs to do.
You're killing him, but you're kind of glossing over a point here. Okay, so let's say instead of throwing the pass, they run the ball because they know it's a little bit different here. that they have to run the ball and force Washington to use their timeout after the 2-minute warning. Okay. So it hits the 2-minute warning after their third down play. Right. So now on their fourth down play, they kick the field goal. It's 1:55. It's because it takes 5 seconds for a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you kick off. Okay. And it goes out of the end zone. So you've got 1:55. Okay. Without the Ridgeway play, we're talking about here, right? How much time was left when they kicked the field goal originally when they called the Ridgeway penalty? 1:48?
1:52.
1:52. We're talking about 2 or 3 seconds is what I'm saying.
They called the timeout at 1:48, but that was after another play.
Right. So the point is it was 1:52 as opposed to a possible 1:55. That's all I'm saying is that it wouldn't have been it's like 2 or 3 seconds. So maybe I'm missing something. But what they're saying is that if he had thrown the pass on third down, then that would have stopped the clock and they wouldn't have had to use their timeout, or they've already used their timeout. Sorry. And then they would have still the 2-minute warning with the ball. So they'd have that built-in timeout. But I don't think they throw the pass. That's the whole point.
You're probably right. You don't
going to run the ball.
Maybe not. Gus Bus here, KOC's made bad play calls.
That's
He's
true
just
too.
as much to blame. Yeah, there's a lot of the same things you can say for KOC. Commandalorian, I had this up earlier, would have had a timeout if Ron doesn't waste one on the 4th and 1 dumb draw them offsides play, which we hate. We absolutely hate that. It doesn't work. Everyone sees it, and then you like give up. Like, the problem is like you get to the line, and then like you give up. You like noticeably like just give up 5 seconds left. You're like, okay, well we didn't get them in like the first 10 seconds we tried this, so we're just gonna walk off the field now. And then lost a timeout on the challenge. Commandalorian doesn't like the challenge. You said you liked the challenge. Any particular reason why you liked it?
Because I thought there was a chance that they could have won that challenge. And I believe it was, I'm not 100% sure. Was it a third down play where Heinicke scrambled? It was the scramble where he made that nice spin move on their linebacker. And it looked like he made the line to gain. So I thought that would have been an important play because I don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember if they actually. Yeah, did they go for it? Did they punt? Did they?
That's the 4th and inches call you hated.
Oh, the rollout that they threw to McLaurin that was incomplete. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that could have been overturned. It was really close, obviously, but I was okay because it was an important part of the game. It was an important play. So,
counter argument here.
Sure.
They called it 4th and inches. It was close. You don't know whether or not you're going to get it. Why not just go up and run the QB sneak like you said?
Sure.
It's 4th and inches. You should be able to get inches.
Yes.
So have to see that. Hey, Dubs family, we appreciate you jumping in here with us. It's just like he says, hit that like button. It's free.
It's
thumbs
like
up. Yep. Got it right there.
Yeah, appreciate that, Dubs family.
Absolutely.
All right. So, all right. All that makes sense. But are we going to talk about the Ridgeway play or are we going to just save it for the no-goes?
Yeah, we'll talk about the Ridgeway play. So this is something that they John Keim had tweeted out. Minnesota noticed he did it in the point after attempt during the touchdown.
Yep.
And they went to the refs and said, hey, watch that guy.
Yep.
He's been doing this. This is something I feel like if Minnesota noticed it, Washington should have noticed it and said, hey, don't do this.
Yeah.
Or are they doing it because they think they can get away with it? Came back to bite Washington in the rear as that penalty gave that fresh set of downs and Minnesota was able to bleed the clock out, not giving Washington any time, afterwards to be able to do it. Washington, stopped. And maybe they should have let them score, Stoner. Maybe that's what they should have done is force it to do their metaphor. You're invisible. You're not invisible, metaphor. You're there.
Yeah, it was a horrific. I like to use that word. It was a horrific botch on his on his side, and he definitely did it on that extra point, and he did it again on that field goal attempt. And I don't know why he thinks he can get away with that, because it's not allowed in college either. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he's a rookie and he forgot that he can't do that at the pro level. I mean, they teach him, this is what I believe Keim said, they teach him to cross in front like that, but not to hit him when you're crossing in front. And he did that. It was a penalty on both plays. They caught it the second time, and it was at obviously a crucial point of the game, which allowed Minnesota, like you said, to run out the clock, where they also Washington was going to let him score. We all know this. We were saying it right there on the live stream. We were saying, you got to let him score. Just let him walk right in. Minnesota was not trying to score. They were not. They were doing everything. I mean, even on the third down, when Cousins got the snap, he just took the snap and went a little bit left and kneeled down. And they weren't trying to score. They were smart enough not to leave Washington any time to come back. So huge botch, huge botch. You don't cut him, for that particular play. I saw a lot of that.
We actually called him out as a quality player, a great pickup for Washington, and making people forget about Tim Settle and Matt Ioannidis. But then you have something like that. He is a rookie. He's a 5th rounder, and we were able to pull away from Dallas. I think that he has a spot on this team. Metaphor did correct us from earlier. It was a 2nd down run. They had 2 downs to get the 6 inches, which is why that was a very bad challenge in a lot of people's eyes. So
we see you, Metaphor.
Yeah, we see it there. Doug, he tried to split the blockers Ridgeway, but the risk reward isn't worth it there. Nope, just let him get it and move on to the offense.
Did you see in the Sunday night game, Bobby Wagner for the Rams? He jumped over the center and blocked a kick for the.
As long as you don't touch the long snapper, you're good to go. All right, we're going to go to go-goes and no-goes right here after this. Want to remind everybody, it is the Ref the District season of giving. That's right. You can donate to the Fisher House, a wonderful organization that provides home stays for family members of military members and veterans who are seeking medical care free of charge. They provide this free of charge, millions of dollars that are being saved from our military families and veteran families. All you have to do is go to the website that's scrolling across the bottom there and donate directly to them. Now, because you're doing something from the good of your heart, we are trying to reward you for that. And so we have a raffle that's going to go on. That's going to be 2 sweet tickets and a red zone parking pass to the New York Football Giants game that the Commanders are going to have in December. You get to hang out in a suite with the Ref the District crew, and that should be a lot of fun there. We also got ourselves Pacer running shoes valued up to $140. Right, Stoner? Is what we're looking at. Pacers running shoes. Get the great team over there in Pacers running, one of our sponsors. The shoes that they have are quality, and they can set you up with a pair that gets you back to running, just like they got our man Stoner back to running over there in Dundalk. Now, on top of that, we got a signed D'Angelo Hall jersey. You can win that. You can win one of 2 $100 gift certificates to Guy Fieri's restaurant there in DC. So we appreciate those donations that have done there. We've crushed our $500 goal. We would love to crush 1,000. The sweet tickets themselves, those are $800 in value. All you have to do is make a small donation. $1 gets you 1 ticket. $5 is 6 tickets. $10 is 15 tickets. $25, double it up. You get 50 tickets for that. And we'll do the math. If you give us a number in there that's not one of those direct ones, we'll do the math, give you the best options, and sometimes maybe even a little extra if our math is a little wrong there. But
when's the drawing?
The drawing is the drawing's going to be on the 30th of November, so there's still time. The ticket time count will close the night before on the 29th. But go ahead and get your money in. All this money goes directly to the Fisher House. We're not pocketing any of this. We just want to see the donations go to the Fisher House. So EP here, we've currently raised 570. Let us get to 1,000.
Yeah, buddy.
Let us do that. We would love to crush our goal and get a lot of money over to the Fisher House. EP, since you're watching here, we got the site here as well in case you can't read it when you're seeing the scroll go across. But EP was telling me the other day we're like in the top like 15, I think, of the people currently donating. So yeah, keep that up. Let's get to number one. Let's see what we can do there and get to number one. So we appreciate everyone's help in that. I need to remember to create this graphic, just like you guys need to remember whatever it was that you were talking about creating for the sound bar. I was listening to you on the way to the show. You guys were gonna do something for the sound bar.
It was hit that like button.
Yeah, there we go. Do a little jingle for the
like or something like that.
Yeah. Let's get to those go-goes and no-goes.
All right.
Go ahead and in the chat here, let us know who your go-go is. Stoner, I'm going to hit you first. Who's your go-go?
I mean, it's pretty easy for me. He's probably my go-go every week, but Jonathan Allen is playing like an all-pro, first team all-pro. He's probably going to be this year if he continues to do what he's doing. He's dominating the offensive line. And with him and Payne together, they are creating havoc. Think about the guys they've pretty much shut down this year. Guys like Dalvin Cook, who you just saw, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry. Just off the top of my head, they didn't really stop DeAndre Swift that one particular game, but they've really shut down some excellent running backs, and the defense has. So he's my go-go. He's my go-go every week, but he plays great.
He's a clear one to have. Dalvin Cook, by the way, 17 carries for 47 yards, 2.8 average.
Shut him down.
Season average is 4.6, and he's had 608 yards. He's ninth in rushing for the NFL, and Washington held him to under 50. Just absolutely great job there. You're going to go with Jonathan Allen, who, as you know, I love, but this one goes to Deron Payne for me as my go-go. He just had a monster game. It's the reason why I had to create the graphic for him, because he was just absolutely a monster of a game there. It always felt like he was in the background or in the backfield and just gobbling things up. Loved to see those big guys play strong up there. Here in the chat, we have Metaphor singing "Wake Me Up Before You Go." Yeah, maybe I can find a free version of that and then play that one. Metaphor is going to go with St. Juiced, who did have, I felt, a pretty good game. We talked about that. Tress, Jonathan Allen, and Payne. Tress Way continues. This is the way. I don't have the button brought up for that one, but Trestway continues to be doing really well there. No other people want to jump in on the go-goes, so we're going to go to the no-goes. Stoner, maybe they'll hop in there with the no-goes. But what do you got for a no-go there? You kind of said maybe Ridgeway.
Yeah. I mean, Ridgeway might be one, but I mean, Heinicke was so bad yesterday. He was just so bad. He wasn't efficient. He didn't use his legs enough. He wasn't throwing the ball downfield. And then, of course, he had that back-breaking interception. He has to be the no-go. If you're not going to do Ridgeway, then, I mean, for sure, Taylor Heinicke. Back-breaking interception. But that's what he does.
I'm going to put it on Taylor Heinicke as well. I'm not going to put it on the rookie. He needs to do better. Ridgeway does to make not have that. Maybe Washington has a chance.
Yeah, that caused them to lose that chance.
Yeah, it did. And I very understandable, but you're right. Washington has this game in hand, and maybe you do give it to Scott Turner like Metaphor did. He gave it kind of Heinicke and to Scott, because those play calls, right? Why are we throwing on a 2nd and 8 when we're trying to eat up the clock because we have the lead? Maybe run the ball again. But that's part of then people are going to be saying, when that goes for no yardage and you're in 3rd and 8, oh, he's predictable.
Yeah.
I thought the play call was fine. The throw was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought they should have been
horrible.
running, but there was still a lot of time left.
Yeah.
And by the way, 18 regular season games for Taylor Heinicke, 25 turnovers. That's who he is. Let's never forget that.
EP giving it to Mr. Steal Your Girl. Do I have to be worried, EP?
Oh, go.
right.
Go.
With Dax Milne for his first TD. Let's give a go shout out also to Danny Johnson for his first interception.
Yeah, absolutely.
EP agreeing with us. Taylor Heinicke, just a no-go this time. Just a horrible game from him. Let's get to our Dalla. Let's pay up real quick. This one's going to be brutal because it was really just the two of us, right?
Yeah, we had a couple early on before the live stream, or as the live stream got started yesterday. We threw in some extras, but we do have one that may be up for debate, so we'll do that one last. But real quick, the score predictions we had: Stoner had 28-24 for Minnesota. Trev had 31-16 for Minnesota. And Nathan had 22-18 Washington. You're pretty close with your score, just not the right team.
Which the only reason why I didn't go Minnesota is because you two did. So
that's right. Couldn't have the clean sweep, right?
Didn't have the clean sweep.
Maybe
I should have done the clean sweep and Taylor Heinicke wouldn't have thrown an interception. I'm the drama, guys. I'm the one who messed it up for us.
Stoner and Nathan had Heinicke at 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. That did not work out. So Trev earned $1 on that.
I debated so long on that, and I was going to go against it. And then I was like, no, we'll go ahead and give him 2 TDs because he's going to get the yards, and then just backfired.
Stoner and Nathan had Snyder on camera less than 1.5 times. And I don't think he was on camera at all.
Nope.
I didn't see him, so Trev lost on that one. He had the over 1.5. Stoner had Sly for 2 field goals. He only had the 1, so Nathan got $1 on that. Nathan had Jamin Davis 2 tackles for losses. He only had 1, I believe. So Stoner won $1 on that one.
Stoner won and I lost?
Correct.
All right. For a little defense here on the late no-go for Metaphor, Nathan for leaving the game early. It did hurt to leave the game early, especially because the game that I left for did not go in our favor. The Arden, my Arden team got walloped 10-1. It was a brutal end to our season. So whatever good luck I had provided before leaving, I did not bring with me to the soccer field.
I don't know. We were down 7-0 when you left. I don't know what kind of good luck you were bringing to this team. But did you pull the goalie at least? I hope, because good Lord, that's
it wasn't the goalie's fault. It was there's a lot of factors that went into it. But as the coach, I'm going to take responsibility for that loss.
Okay, good. Somebody's got to around here. All right. Stoner had Minnesota would start off 14-0. They didn't. They started off 7-0. So Nathan won $1 on that. Going to skip the next one because it's controversial, I think. Do you have the team stats up?
Yeah, I can bring those up real quick.
Okay, you're going to need to bring those up. We'll get back to that, though. Trev and Stoner had Cousins for 1 interception, which he did. Nathan went against that. Trev said that Washington would go 3 and out on the first drive, which they did not. So Stoner and Nathan won $1 on that.
Trev loves that bet.
He does, man. Trev said that Jefferson would have 165 yards receiving.
Yeah, I remember that one. I was pumped.
Stoner and Nathan both said no. Trev had Curtis Samuel at 6+ carries. Stoner said no. Nathan had Samuel at 5+ carries, and Stoner said no. So Stoner won both of those.
On that, yeah.
He had 1 carry. Here's the controversy.
He had that 1 carry really early on, and we're like, just keep doing it. Keep feeding him. Didn't see another carry.
Not a single one.
Did not see a carry.
Yeah. 16 yards. We don't want to try that play again. I mean, only gained 16 yards. Jeez. All right, here's a controversial one. Let me ask you, by looking at team stats.
Okay.
How many sacks did Washington have?
By team sacks.
No, team stats. How many sacks did Washington have?
All right, looking at it.
Make sure you look at it properly.
Per ESPN,
yeah,
they had 3 sacks for 23 yards.
I got a problem with that.
Why do you got a problem with that?
You know what that third sack was?
What?
On Minnesota's last possession when they were trying to run out the clock and Kirk Cousins took the snap and walked around a little bit. And then they just came up to him and touched him as he kneeled down. That's a sack.
That's a sack.
I got a problem with that.
And in the books, it's a sack. Teams. So what's it matter?
Trevor and Nathan said Washington would have 3 sacks, and Stoner said no. So
doesn't do a whole lot to change it. You're still up +3.
+3. I got +5.
So it'd be +4 then.
I got +5.
Well, you lost that one that we just said.
Oh, I already counted that as I counted that as a win. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. So
I don't know why I counted it as a win.
We'll work it out again, but I think that you're a +3 or +4. Trev is at -1, and I broke even on the day, which is a little bit better than what I was figuring. You still ended up pretty high on there. I still got to get all those stats together so that way we can check it out on the full thing here. So we'll see. We did that. He didn't attempt a pass, so that's a running play.
That could be true.
Yeah, was it a sack or a run for a loss? In the books, Washington's showing that they had the 2 sacks. I might be, if I'm looking at it wrong.
3.
The team stats show that they have 3 sacks.
Yeah, you just said 2, so I was
sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That could be true that he didn't attempt to pass. All right, that could be true, but I thought I saw somewhere the whole game that they had 2 sacks, and then I looked at stats and it said 3, and I was like, oh, he got one for that last one, didn't he?
Probably. All right. Well, we're going to be back on Wednesday live at 7:30 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter to break down this Eagles game.
Time to move on.
We're going to win that one.
Oh.
We're going to win that one. Sean's going with Philly 34-13. You heard it here first. Sean, we'll have to see. We'll debate on that on Wednesday and why Washington can win against the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. We appreciate everyone jumping in there and helping us out. Make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, until next time,
be
a fan.